Art for My Father is a show that I've curated at the Artrages Gallery here in Detroit. There is a wide variety of visual, what shall we say, these images pertaining to fatherhood, fathers. Some of them are abstract and symbolic. There's also very literal stuff. There's this stuff by Hurst, Mr. Batten, Chris Batten. Those are personal actually. Some of the more interesting pieces actually abstract. There is a song for my father by Gardner. Then you have pieces by Dawud Muhammad. That's from his One from the Father series. And talking about One for the Father, here's Dawud Muhammad himself. Mr. Muhammad, how are you doing today?
Excellent. How are you?
Splendid, thank you. Could you give us a take, somewhat informal if possible, about fatherhood in general?
Sure. Fatherhood for me means growth.
Okay.
I think fatherhood, as opposed to simply ability to have children, fatherhood is the acceptance of the product, the outcome of birth, the product of intimacy, the product hopefully of love and respect for who's having that child, and love for the child. Fatherhood is learning patience. Fatherhood is learning commitment. Fatherhood is learning to take the weight of responsibility and not buckle under that weight. So I think fatherhood literally is a part of your spiritual growth, and ultimately it means to go further. Father means further. It means further growth and development. We start off as young men who we find a companion and we become husbands in the traditional sense, and out of that comes father. And of course, there's a lot of non-traditional births, or the new idea isn't so much to be married, to have a child. But one thing persists, and that is if you are partly responsible for a child coming into this world, well, for that child to get further, part of it is that you be father, and meaning a willingness to give of yourself to a child in every way that you can toward its growth and development.
That leads a question just comes up in my mind. The possibility of disappointment in the father-child relationship. I mean, for instance, if someone has kids or has a kid, and that kid, despite all you've done, physically or knowledgeably possible, that the kid, does something disappointing. I don't want to use the word turns out to be a disappointment, but that's a possibility.
I think that
would you say that's part of the deal? Does that come with the territory?
I think that disappointment is possible and even probable, but I think where the root of disappointment is sometimes an expectation we impose on a child, as opposed to accepting that child has the freedom of making choices, his or herself, particularly as they get older. You can be disappointed, but like, for instance, when I look at my children, there are things I hope they would do, there are things I hope for them. When they didn't achieve some of those objectives I had in mind for them, it was disappointing. But we have to be careful of being disappointed in our children. At best, They may fall into some area of disfavor with what we wanted, but we have to trust that they, like ourselves, ultimately make the best choices possible for their lives if you did your part during the time they were under your guidance. You get so much time with those young lives, then the rest is left up to them. And we cannot fool ourselves with the illusion of control over a mind and a life that ultimately will make its own choices. But what we strive to do is make the best possible choices as parents. Children will show you your failings, but children will show you your greatness as well. You just have to accept both sides of the coin.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you very much. Nice work, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. That was Dawud Muhammad.